Yes, folks, we got some Olympic coverage going on, and I'm glad to be here to cover some of our Olympic coverage. We're going to see if any of the other guests come on and bring us some of their thoughts as well. But definitely some amazing things are happening in the Olympics. I saw that there was a young lady that was American that won the canoe race. I believe that was the first gold that America had won in that race, and she actually won going away. I had the pleasure of watching that early this morning, and it was an exciting race and seeing that young lady from the West Coast do amazing in her contest. I believe there was some boxing going on, even some women's boxing happening as well. So definitely that's some of the Olympic news that I've been seeing going on in the world. I also caught a little bit of the basketball, and I saw that in the beginning parts of it, Australia was giving the U.S. all that it could handle. But then in the second part of the game, in the second half, things were a little bit more tighter and all of that. So definitely we saw that there was a tighter match and was glad to see that was happening as well. So definitely it was a very runaway match in that sense of what happened in the U.S. And I know that I've got Addie on with me as well. And Addie, I'm always glad to see her joining us. Actually, I was hoping that she was going to be here yesterday because we had Clara Coulter Smith on, and Clara's husband is a Canadian volleyball player. So I'm actually going to reach out to her and see if they can come on. But they had actually participated in some Olympics. I know that Michelle Cameron Coulter was on back in the Seoul Olympics way back in '88, probably even before you were around as a person and all of that. And then definitely her husband participated on the Canadian team, I believe, as well in volleyball, and he has actually even been a captain for several of those teams, and they are still involved in the sports. Their kids, who are probably closer to your age, are also in volleyball and had been doing competitive volleyball. But like I said, I was up this morning watching the basketball game. I was quite thrilled watching that basketball game, and I was really impressed seeing how the U.S. dominated Australia, but now they've got to see what they're going to do in the gold medal game and whether they'll get that gold medal or not. And I think that our U.S. Beach volleyball folks, are they still around? Because I want to say that they were April, the double A's were still around, and we're getting ready to go into the match and all of that. So am I correct in my assessment of that?
Yes, you're correct. They have a game today at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're facing against Australia. That's April Ross and Alex Kleinman, and that's going to be for the gold medal match. So we are very excited to see that. We're very excited to see if they can bring the gold home to U.S. And they're a magical duo, and we will see. We will see.
We will definitely see. Speaking of seeing, I was telling Wynn before you came on and before we got on that there's an Olympic legend who is not too happy with the way things have been going with our relay team. So I was always a big fan of Carl Lewis when he was running. Of course, he was around many decades ago in terms of his Olympics, but he did win 8 gold medals during his time at the Olympics. But he was not too thrilled with the way our relay teams are doing, because apparently we had another sloppy handoff and only finished in 6th place, and definitely that's been going on for a while, because it does seem like this is something that has become very much of an issue. And he apparently did not mince words in expressing his frustrations on Twitter. So he said that the USA team did everything wrong in the man's relay. The passing system is wrong, athletes running the wrong legs, and it was clear that there was no leadership. It was a total embarrassment and completely unacceptable for the USA team to look worse than the AAU kids I saw, Lewis tweeted. So apparently a legend is not too happy with the way that we are finishing when we're finishing in 6th place and things along those lines. So definitely, I just wanted to know your thoughts about whether they had enough time to practice, whether they could actually get things going, because they definitely didn't have the same kind of training regimen that usually would be happening. But apparently this whole thing of not doing well in the Olympics has been a stain on that particular sport for a while. But I just wondering your thoughts about how they are maybe not having the right system.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Lewis, he could be a little bit more friendly to his current track and field athletes, but he did say that it was a clown show and a total embarrassment that the relay team, after their messy handoffs, were finishing in 6th place. And a lot of us watchers from home are surprised about our placement in some of the races. In the men's 800-meter gold medal match, we actually finished in last place. And so many of us are wondering what is going on, particularly with men's track and field, and why they are not performing in the way that we think they would perform. On the other hand, though, women's, we're doing great. Per usual. We had gold in the women's pole vault, gold in the women's 4x400 meter. And like we are doing great with the athletes like Allison Felix, like leading the charge. And it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see, and I'm very proud.
No, definitely. And even on some of the field events, we've not always done that well. But I did want to give a shout out to American Ryan Crouser, who set an Olympic record in the shot put Thursday and won a gold medal at the Tokyo Games. It was only Crouser's second Olympic individual gold medal, as he scored a 23.30, and he dedicated the victory to his late grandfather, who died a week before the games started. So he had a piece of paper with him, and he held it up to the cameras, and apparently he said, "Grandpa, we did it. 2020 Olympic champion." So glad to see somebody give a shout out to a family member who has passed on and all of that. So definitely that was good to see. And also we saw that when Sydney McLaughlin was winning, and she won, and she was one of those women that has done quite well in the Olympics and all of that. She was celebrated in a viral video by her New Jersey alma mater. So definitely the school that she went to and everything, they were definitely celebrating her. So it's really great to see some of these folks getting honored by the parts of the world that they are from. So I know that I had mentioned, and I'm going to try to remember her name and everything, the young lady that was running the canoe race, because I did watch that last night as well. And I was really impressed with the way that she, like I said, she was in a tight race, maybe in the first third to a half of the race. And then by the time it came down to winning the championship and all of that, she left everybody else in the dust. And I want to say that for the women, maybe not for the men, but for the women, is a relatively new sport. But definitely seeing her just make that canoe move with quickness. And like I said, I know that she's from the West Coast. It was really fun to watch. So while I'm trying to remember the name of that young lady that won and everything, another sport that I watched I was really impressed with was skateboarding. Because like I said, I was never one of those kids that I did biking as a kid, but I don't remember doing any skateboarding, and that's a relatively new sport. But whether it was the adults or whether it was the young kids and everything, some of those stunts that they were doing with, the skateboards are going in the air, you're suspended in the air, then you've got to grab it, catch it, and land on it, and then continue on these routes. I was really impressed. But like I said, I know that I can do it, and we've actually got some skateboard parks even here in Durham, North Carolina. But I was just wondering your thoughts of maybe even watching some of these young skateboarders and their skill set.
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, I would like to say hi to our fellow co-host, Mr. Steve Rao, coming in from a council member from Morrisville, North Carolina.
Hello.
Also, what are your thoughts on these new sports that are added to the Olympics, like skateboarding, BMX?
Yeah, it's amazing. I missed, first of all, thank you so much. I'm actually on vacation this week, wearing my Captain America shirt, where you go Team USA, and my USA hat. Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite fascinating. I mean, I love the skateboarding, canoe slaloming. I just watched a little bit of the climbing, the wall climbing. There's so many different sports. It's just amazing. It almost makes you feel like we miss out on watching a lot of these other sports because we're so focused on, just the big ones like football, basketball, tennis. I'm a former tennis player, so watching that. Badminton and table tennis as well. I didn't get to see as much of it, so I've been watching a little bit on my phone, just the highlights. But I wasn't able to see some of that this last 2 weeks. But I think I wish there was almost like more coverage of these different sports over the year. I know when I was growing up, there was the Wide World of Sports, and it was called The Thrill of Victory and the Agony of Defeat. And they would, in the summertime, have all these different sports. I've enjoyed beach volleyball, regular volleyball. I mean, I could go on and on, but some of these new sports are very unique. And so I wish they could get back some programming where they could have more in the mainstream, the different sports.
No, I definitely agree with you, and hopefully, maybe that's one of the things that we can have happen here on the network. Because I do know that we've been doing some stuff with fantasy football and with some other sports as well. So hopefully, we can get some more sports coverage on a regular basis. But I do agree that we need to have more of the sports coverage. But it's also been great seeing some of these young people that have been competing. The young lady that was the canoeist that I was trying to remember was Nevin Harrison, and she actually won the USA's first canoe sprint gold. And like I said, I watched that race, and I was really impressed when she won that contest, but she's only 19. So definitely, like I said, we're seeing a lot of young folks that are coming out there and winning in sports that, like you said, aren't oftentimes thought of during the course of the regular year. And this was her first ever Olympics.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're seeing a lot of young girls and young athletes just excelling at their sport. We're seeing a 14-year-old win gold for gymnastics for China, another 14-year-old winning gold for China in diving, another 14-year-old winning gold for Japan in skateboarding. These are young kids who haven't even started high school, haven't even started middle school, winning golds for their country before they even have to pay bills. And it's amazing to see.
Yeah, and Adair, what is your sport? Are you an athlete, a former athlete?
Yes, I'm a current athlete. I play volleyball.
Current athlete.
Duke University. I'm actually inside of Cameron Indoor Stadium.
You're a Duke player, right?
Yeah. I play volleyball, and I know a lot of
volleyball player. That's right. Okay, excuse my ignorance. Yeah, fantastic. No, congratulations. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't wear my Carolina hat.
Yeah, that would have been a bad.
No, that would not have been a good thing to do. Anything.
What year are you in school there?
I am a senior, sadly. But yeah, I'm actually in the historic Cameron Indoor Stadium. This is where my locker room is. This is where I'm reporting live from.
Cool.
And yeah,
awesome.
We're talking about
we definitely
volleyball.
Appreciate you reporting live and everything from there. And there is some possibility that I believe you said that you may be representing a certain country in the 2024 Olympics. I mean, it's a long process. Of course, you've got to go through tryouts and everything else. But there is a slight possibility that in the Paris Olympics, we may see you competing for, unfortunately, another country. But definitely share a little bit about that with us, because I do know that you have expressed interest in possibly competing for the country of Nigeria, which is your homeland and everything.
I love Nigeria.
Thank you. A lot of people do, and more. We need to get Mr. Nick on board so he can love Nigeria too.
I'm very close to the Nigerian community. I'm a member of the Igbo tribe. Actually, here I got presented an award by the embassy, so I love Nigeria.
That's my mother's tribe, but for Nigeria, I mean, I've been through the Olympic process. I was in the under 21s USA team. I went to Aguascalientes, Mexico to compete in Norsica, where we won the gold there. And so I know the pipeline. I know most of the girls on the national team right now. I text them. I'm like, hey, great job. Like, you're doing amazing. And it's awesome to see them play. They're such great players. And hopefully in the next Olympics, maybe I could talk to some few people in Nigeria. Maybe I can claim, because two of the girls actually competing in the Olympics are of Nigerian descent. Foluke and one of the other middles, I think she's also of Nigerian descent. Maybe I can still learn to go back to the motherland, and maybe it's going to be like basketball all over again. So we'll see.
It could be really great and everything. I know that Nick just joined us as well, but it'll be really fascinating to see. And by the way, Nick, I'm thinking that since we're having such great success with the sports coverage, and of course, like I said, I know that my friend does that fantasy football program on Tuesday, and even sometimes LA Bachelor will integrate sports into the things that he's doing as well. So maybe we need to start adding some sports coverage on a regular basis. So I'm making that pitch that we have more sports coverage on a regular basis here on the network and all of that. But one of the things I was going to say is that there is a great match that I am really looking forward to in a sport outside of the ones we've talked about. And I am a fan of what many people in the rest of the world call football, but to most Americans, it's known as soccer. But I really think that this final is going to be a epic final, because we're talking about Brazil, which has a good history of being a soccer powerhouse, and Spain. So that is going to be the gold medal match. So I think that that's going to be a real powerful gold medal match. But I do know that Nigeria is also very strong in soccer as well, in terms of a sport that folks in that nation love to play and everything. But what is your take about that particular match? Are you looking forward to it? Because I'm definitely thinking that this is going to be, it can be like, a shootout. And I do know that some of even the other rounds, like what happened with Mexico and Brazil, ended on a penalty shootout. So I'm not going to be surprised if this final doesn't end in a shootout as well. So I think that we're in for an intense battle when Spain goes up against Brazil. And I even think that the bronze medal match of Mexico and Japan should be an exciting game as well. But what are your thoughts about that gold medal match that'll be coming our way on Saturday, Adi?
Oh, well, I mean, I am excited. Because Brazil and Spain, I mean, they're top countries for football. Like we all know. Unfortunately, Nigeria didn't get into, we didn't qualify. But Brazil and Spain, they're top powerhouses for football. The only thing that gets me a little disappointed is like we are not seeing these big names of soccer that we know competing in the Olympics. Like there's no Messi, there's no Ronaldo, there's no where are they? Where aren't they going to represent their country? But to them, I feel like the Olympics is not as competitive as maybe like the World Cup or others. Big soccer championship. So yes, I'm excited, but I am a little disappointed not being able to see those big names that we are used to in soccer as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Nigeria, a lot of the Nigerian tennis team, the Davis Cup tennis team, they all live in Raleigh. So many of them actually came here in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s to play for Shaw University and North Carolina University. Yep. So Moses Igbenogbiia, Gania Delican, all these guys are now tennis pros. And 20 years ago when I moved here, before I got into politics, I used to play tennis with them. We all scrambled and played, but it's a huge Nigerian community here, and it'd be great to see them. Hopefully, they're doing well in soccer, and I don't know what time is that gold medal match on Saturday.
Hold on one second. I'll be able to tell you that. But I'm pretty sure it's in the afternoon or evening time.
Morning, actually, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what time that is.
You just got to get up early to watch it. But the thing
I'll be driving back though from the beach.
But Ada, we have on the IBM TV network for over a year now a broadcast from Lagos, Nigeria, Brother Mike's Mind Closet. Yes. So maybe we should see if Brother Mike will get you on his TV show. It actually originates from Nigeria. He has guests from all over the world, but mainly, it does have a lot of interesting aspects of Nigeria on that. And I think it's on like 9:00 every Friday on the IBM TV network.
So it will be on actually tomorrow. It'll be on right before we're on World Edition. So yes, it will be on tomorrow. Y'all were talking about some of the history even here in North Carolina, and definitely one of the strong things that we've been strong in is track. And there was a legendary figure that I actually had the pleasure of knowing, not as well as some other members of my family knew him and everything, but Leroy Walker was part of the Olympic Committee, and he was a definitely legend right here in the North Carolina area, and a lot of track folks are still being trained here in this area, and a lot of them have been getting training at schools like St. Aug, like Shaw, like Central, like some of our other HBCUs. So we definitely have some folks getting strong training, both at our historically Black colleges and universities, but also at our PWIs, predominantly white institutions like Duke and UNC. But I definitely want to give a shout out to the fact that there is a strong track community here in the area. The one thing that has surprised me, which I did not realize we had, but apparently over there in the small town of Holly Springs, there must be an active BMX community, because we do know that there was some kind of acrobatic sports in terms of newer sports and things of that nature. But there is a training facility in that small town, and apparently they've got at least 3 countries that were represented in that sport that were trained in that facility. So I did not realize that like a small town, because Holly Springs and Marsville are probably comparable sizes, but in that small community, they have become one of the epicenters. I won't say the only epicenter, but one of the epicenters of BMX biking. So just wondering what you think about the ability to have these kind of sports trained in these small environments.
Well, real quickly, Jordan Windell also, his father served on the city council. An amazing story. He actually ended up leaving the council, and that's a long story. But his son, Jordan Windell, is on the U.S. Olympic diving team. And he's an orphan from Cambodia, who Jerry Windell, who is an openly gay man, adopted him, was a Navy, a hero for the United States Navy, and heard the story of Jordan and adopted him. He had all kinds of challenges, and he raised him, and their dream was to go to the Olympics. And Jerry wasn't able to go. He was in California. But a shout out to Jordan Windell, who actually lived in Morrisville, North Carolina for about 3.5 to 4 years, 3 years. Wow. And he's, I don't know how he did. I don't think he medaled, but he did compete on the national team. Right. So,
I mean, diving, like I was talking about before, like diving right now, China is the big competitor. They have 6 gold medals, in which in the women's 10-meter platform was won by a 14-year-old who got a perfect score and broke the all-time diving final record. She got 3 perfect dives, 10s across the board. So diving this year was very, very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Very
no
impressive.
doubt, that's been very impressive, and diving's been going quite well, and definitely some of the other sports that are going quite well as well. Was there any particular sports? Like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to beach volleyball. I'm definitely looking forward to the basketball continuing matches. But are there any other sports that everybody is looking forward to? So I guess I'll start with the boss and then come down to Adi and everything. But Nick, is there any sport that you are particularly looking forward to as we go through the next several days? We still got 3 more days of coverage to go and 3 more days of the Olympics to go after today, because we're going all the way till the 8th and all of that. But is there anybody that you are excited about?
Yeah, I would like to see the volleyball team compete. I mean, the thing is, beach volleyball and regular volleyball, I mean, the USA's got really waxed, in men's volleyball. And so the thing is, some of these volleyball teams, Mark, are really, really good. And it's certainly a sport worth watching. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I think it's a great sport. I think it really deserves, it just doesn't get enough love. I mean, I don't understand why ESPN doesn't cover it. It's a killer sport. You can't stop not watching it, because you never know when they're going to be able to dive and actually hit that bloody ball. They jump way out there and bang, if they hit the ball up, then somebody's got a shot at it. So it's certainly worth watching. And I think beach volleyball is the same way. Indoor volleyball is really good. And I think the volleyball thing, volleyball teams really deserve their own highlight. And so it'll probably become a major sport not too far in the distant future. After Adi has graduated, she goes on to pursue a career somewhere else, and all of a sudden she goes, "Hey, volleyball's a major sport. I used to play."
I'll be there when it becomes a major sport. Don't worry.
Well, no, she's already made it very clear that she's going to be in the middle of the mix and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, did you watch the match between the U.S. women and the Dominican Republic? Because apparently that was a blistering quarterfinal match, and I know a lot of people are talking about the absence of certain starters like Jordan Thompson and Jordan Poulter, both out with injuries. So I was wondering, did you watch the match, and how do you feel we can do as we continue going forward?
I mean, we did blow them out 3-0, but those 3 matches out of 5 were hard won. Jordan Thompson, she was a leading scorer. I love her. She's an amazing person, so nice. Her and her husband, amazing, love them. But the U.S. struggled a little bit offensively without her, and it was amazing to see how they came together as a group, tightened their defense, tightened their blocking, tightened their passing, and made it work, and then pulled it against a really aggressive offensive Dominican Republic team. And so because of that win, they pushed them into the semifinals, which they're actually going to play tomorrow at 12 a.m. Eastern time against Serbia. And then also Brazil and South Korea are playing at 8 a.m. Eastern time to see who would make it into the finals. And I think the U.S. has it this year. I really do.
Yeah,
that'll be great to see. And I know that in the past we've had Sasha with us, and he'll be glad to know that a Canadian won the gold in the men's 200 meter, the first time that a Canadian has done it since 1928. So we're talking just a little bit less than 100 years ago was the last time that a Canadian actually did that well. So definitely big shout out to Andre DeGrasse and the fact that that has happened. And, yesterday we had Michelle Cameron Coulter on, and she's in that artistic swimming kind of competition. But there was a member of the Russian Olympic Committee that won her 6th gold, a record for the sport. And apparently she did a somewhat terrifying spider-themed duet with her partner, Svetlana. And I'm not even going to try to butcher that last name and everything, but definitely it does seem like she has done a great job and all of that. But I was just wondering, we'll have to reach out to her and see what she thinks about that particular kind of terrifying move, because as she pointed out to us yesterday, that is considered the 2nd hardest sport to do, particularly in individual sports. It's like the gymnasts are number 1, and that sport of synchronized swimming is number 2 in terms of difficulty rating, because there's ratings for everything, and apparently they put out ratings, and as she pointed out to us yesterday, that was rated the 2nd most difficult sport, particularly in the individual sports.
Absolutely. And hopefully I'll be, when we joke a day that in 2060, when I'm 90, I'm running for the presidency of the United States. So even though I'm only a city councilman and I'm thinking about running for either the state senate or U.S. Congress next year, the idea would be that I got to stay fit. Right. So today I ran 11 miles on the beach, about 1 hour and 40 minutes. felt great. So I kept that heart pumping, the blood moving. I'm just joking. I'm not running for president.
Oh,
But but Joe Biden is so young and sprightly at the age of 78.
He is very much sprightly and all of that, but unfortunately, some bad news that we had in the sense of the Olympics was there was the first documented cluster of COVID-19 infections, and unfortunately, it was in the artistic swimming group and everything, and it was among the Greek artistic swimming team. But that's the first confirmed cluster of cases. So definitely, we are seeing that it is still impacting what is going on even in the Olympics. But on a more positive note, I did see that there is a gold medal wrestler, Tamarai Mensah Stock, who said that she is going to give part of her bonus, because sometimes they get bonuses for participating and everything, but she's going to give part of her bonus to actually $30,000 of this $37,000 bonus to her mom. And the reason she's going to give it to her mom is because she wants the mom to go buy a food truck, because apparently the mom is into like food trucks and that whole business and everything. So she's going to give a sizable portion of that to her mom so that she can go buy a food truck in their home area. So that'll be, I thought that was a beautiful story. The fact that she wanted to give that money, not just to her mom, just to have it, but also to kind of like continue the legacy of getting something that you can get more money in. And by the way, she is the first African-American woman to win wrestling gold. So she's definitely made a history mark in that sense. So she was the first African-American woman to win wrestling gold. And now she's saying that she wants to be, and I know that on one of the Toby show, we had a person that was involved in this sport, but she's saying that she wants to be a WWE superstar. So definitely she's looking at possibly going into the WWE. And as that guest that was on Jacoby's show, maybe about a month or 2 months ago, had pointed out to us, that is not as easy a thing as folks. It is folks think. It's definitely entertainment. There's no doubt that it's entertainment. But as she pointed out, they do have to go through some athletic training. There is some serious chances of there's a serious chances of injury and things along those lines. So definitely, there is some training that has to go in that is athletic training. So we definitely want to give a shout out. And I see that Addie is looking at our founder of this network and saying, "No, Nick, I'm not going into wrestling. You can't make me go to wrestling. It's not happening."
Is there Olympic boxing, men's boxing? Because I saw welterweight women, but
there is Olympic boxing in both. A lot of the boxing has been historical in the Olympics for years and everything. So I do know that there is. I mean, definitely, I'm still trying to get Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Leonard's son, to come on, and hopefully in the next few days and all of that. But definitely. There is boxing on all of that side, but I haven't seen how we're doing or what the results have been. But I do know that Olympic boxing has been around, and I don't think it was one of those sports that was moved. And definitely there has been women boxing, because we've seen the women have actually not done that bad, some of our American boxers, from what I have heard. But the other thing that's going on and comes back to something that we talk about on all of our shows is the climate. And apparently the Olympics are doing a good job with the climate, because it says that 100% share of the games are powered by renewable energy. And definitely it also says that their 80 tons is the total weight of the recycled electronics that were turned into the 2020 games medals. So apparently those medals are made up of recycled electronics. So definitely there seems like we're viewing that whole kind of climate change environmental thing even within the Olympics. So that's a good positive note, I think, in that sense. So definitely, and speaking of people that are doing good money given out, apparently $3,400 is the amount of funds that Israeli baseball pitcher Ben Wagner has raised so far for the victim of the landslides in Atami, Japan. So Wagner started the GoFundMe campaign following a backlash for a video he posted of athletes destroying one of the Olympic Village's cardboard beds. So, Adi, what do you think about this? Because it seems like a lot of our athletes are taking up the mantle and using their platform to put out positive causes, to help positive causes, whether that's family causes, like the case of the food truck, or whether that's issues that they are concerned about. So what is your thoughts about athletes as activists?
I mean, it comes first and foremost. Athletes are activists, and we see it every day. Maybe not in the Olympics, but in the NBA and the WNBA, in every sport really, because you have such a platform, because you're the best in your sport, everyone is watching you. Why not speak for things that you believe in? And the Olympics have taken a very strong stance on trying to be anti-political, banning anything to do with Black Lives Matter, banning anything to do with even the Iranian-Palestinian conflict, like the refugee team or Israeli conflict, and not trying to be on maybe not the right side of history, but trying to be on the side that doesn't really have an opinion. And a lot of athletes are taking backlash against that. They are speaking for what they believe in, regardless of what penalties and fines they might face. They're winning their golds, they're winning their medals, and then still speaking for the political movements and subjects that they want to talk about. And I think it's great.
Fantastic.
I agree. What are your thoughts, Nick, about some of these athletes stepping up and making comments about things that they are interested in, not just in our country, but from countries all over the world and everything?
No comment. No, I'm just kidding. The thing is, that's usually what attorneys go, no comment. But the thing is, it's part of the principles of our country is freedom of speech. I mean, it was in the First Amendment. So to give you an idea, they thought it was really, really important for ideas to be expressed and that we have a free exchange of ideas, which is the whole theory behind freedom of speech. With that, of course, great power comes great responsibility. So you have to be real careful, especially in an international setting, as to not overstep your bounds when it comes to freedom of speech. So, for example, when people deface the Prophet Muhammad, I'm really against that. I think that there's limits on what you should be doing, but when people are speaking up for freedoms that maybe their country doesn't have and like to see, I'm totally for that. I mean, I think that freedom of expression is really important, as long as you just don't infringe on other people's rights and beliefs. I mean, there's especially when there's frankly no reason to do it, nor serves no compelling benefit for society as a whole.
No, I definitely agree with you on that and everything. Yeah. One of the things I was going to mention is the Japanese combat sport of karate apparently has also made its Olympic debut today as well. So definitely appears that we've got 6 combat sports. You had asked about boxing that are in the Summer Olympics. So along with boxing, wrestling, judo, and arguably fencing, there are now 6 combat sports at the Summer Olympics. Karate and Taekwondo may be fairly similar, but in fact, with the former placing more emphasis on hand strikes, with the latter involving more kicking. But definitely, it'll be interesting to see how America and other countries do in that sport. But unlike Taekwondo and boxing, shots to the head are not permitted. So definitely does look like we'll just be seeing more body blows in that particular sport. So it's good to see that particular thing happening as well. Steve, I didn't want to leave you out, and then I want to bring up an interesting fact as we get ready to wrap up and everything, but I did not want to leave you out if you had thoughts about Olympics and activism.
I think it's great. I mean, I really commend Naomi Osaka for, taking this issue on, and many of the athletes. I do pray for her mental health, and, my only concern and on the mental health of all these athletes. And as we look at Simone Biles, I think it's fine as long as they don't overextend and get outside of their focus. It's so intense being an athlete, like a day balancing academics with athletics, and many of these athletes just training so hard. And so I think it's important for them to be on the cusp of this, but also not to get so overextended. I know, when you look at the great champions in my sport of tennis, whether it's, Rafael Nadal or Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic, to name a few, and even the Williams sisters, the Williams sisters, tended to get more into some of those other things and speaking out. But, when you look at Rafa and Roger and Novak, so very focused on, just their game, their sport, their entourage. And so I think if they're going to do that, that's fine, but they need to have teams that are able to manage it and make sure they're not overextended, because you just hurt that focus a little bit, and, then they can feel like there's just too much pressure. And with Osaka, I sort of feel like that's what happened. She was getting into a lot of things beyond her game, and then it just, the pressure got to her, right? The final thing I'll say is I really wish there were more women's sports in volleyball and basketball covered in our major sports in America. I find it very disappointing that women's basketball is incredible. How come we never watch women's Final Four? How come we never see the women NBA? I think that these should be covered as much as the men's sports. These are excellent athletes. And I'm going to really push for volleyball to be covered more. Both beach volleyball and the main volleyball, both men and women. Why are we not seeing one of the greatest athletes was Karch Kiraly?
Right.
And he's the coach. How come we don't
awesome.
see his sport? We don't see these sports. And so I don't know whether they could have like a separate coverage of these different sports, or maybe it's time for, us to do it on IBM TV network. But, I just feel like it's just football, basketball, men's football, basketball.
And definitely, I agree that we definitely need to get some more sports out there, and they do sometimes cover the women's Final Four in terms of the networks, and they definitely do cover the WNBA games, but they don't do nearly enough.
But not prime time.
I can help answer that question, Steve, because I actually did study that. If you go back to like the 1980s, that there were 50 corporations that controlled 90% of the media in the United States of America. Today, there are 5 corporations that control 90% of what you see, feel, write, or touch. So what we've had is actually a concentration in the United States of corporate control over the media, to where 5 companies, 5 of them, control 90% of what you see, feel, or touch in the United States of America. So with that corporate control, the decisions of what you're talking about, volleyball, the decisions of women's basketball, are all made at a corporate level. The individuals that are watching have no choice of what's being fed to them. So that's what's going on right now. And at the same time, because I've tracked it, social media is grabbing a market share of 25% over the next 5 years that the major media networks can't stop. So they're really very, don't like the stuff that we're doing. Okay, that's all I can say.
Well, that's okay. They don't have to like what we're doing. We're going to continue doing this great stuff and things of that nature. I do want to mention Simone Biles, because apparently she did make the comment that she has not ruled out the possibility of Paris. So we may still see her go into the Olympic space, even in the next year. So maybe Simone Biles and Ada will be there in the 2024, because he did recently come out, I think either today or yesterday, and say that it was a possibility. She didn't say whether it was a strong possibility or what the case would be, but it is a possibility. I do want to bring up, as we're wrapping up, something that definitely Wynn brought up and everything, in terms of why we even saw that picture as folks were looking on the backdrop, which is the concept of, and I'd love to hear Ada's thoughts about this, silver medal sadness, because apparently the next time you watch an Olympic medal ceremony, you need to look at the podium and notice the medalists' facial expressions. But, so predictably, the gold medal winner always looked elated. The bronze medal looks thrilled too. But what about silver? Academic studies have found that silver medalists often look sadder than their gold and bronze counterpart. And psychologists are saying that part of this is because, the gold medal person has made it to the epitome of everything. The bronze medalist is just glad that they placed, and definitely did not have that holy disaster of being in 4th or less and everything. And the silver medalists might be fixated on the fact that they are near gold medals, but they're like in that middle range. So as an athlete, I was just wondering what your thoughts were about that, because I have looked and I did see that after Wynn put that up there, and I did think about some of the past times that I've looked, and you do sometimes see that silver medalist looking as not as happy as either the 3rd place finisher or, of course, the gold medal winner. So I was just wondering your thoughts about these kind of psychology studies that are saying that the silver medalist may not be the happiest person in the world.
Not surprising at all. Not surprising at all, because it's a silver medal syndrome. Runner-up syndrome is a very, very real thing. You have the grasp of the gold medal in your hand, and it just slips through your fingers. And a lot of these team sports, you have a bronze medal match where it's just the bronze medal in 4th place who doesn't even get a medal. So in these gold medal matches, we see the silver medal is a loser. Of course they don't want it. I mean, not concerning the Olympics, but concerning a big football competition where it was England versus Italy, and England came, and I know if you guys didn't see that, but that game was amazing. But this was before the Olympics, in another soccer competition. England actually, when they got their medals, took them off on camera and didn't want them, and so that sadness is very, very real. And like, coping with being the runner-up is something that athletes have to do a lot. That's why we always try to go for gold.
Yeah, it was always good to go for the gold, and definitely there are still a lot of folks that are going for the gold even now and everything along those lines. So it's always good to see folks going for the gold, trying to get that gold medal feeling and all of that. And I agree that silver medal is difficult. That's why I was so impressed in the high jump when the two individuals decided to share the gold medal. That way they didn't have to worry about it. There was 2 gold medals and a bronze medal. And there are some sports, kind of alluded to what Adi was saying and everything, where there are both of the teams getting the bronze medal. Because I want to say that there are quite a few of the team sports that they have that. In some cases, they have the match where there is the third place match, so you might get a bronze. But then there are other ones where there is not a semifinals. There is not a consolation match. So there are a couple of team sports that don't have a consolation match. So then they are doling out 2 bronze medals. So that has happened in at least a few sports and all of that kind of thoughts as well. I don't know if the rest of the panel has any final thoughts that they want to share, but I would give folks a chance to share their final thoughts. And then Mr. Wynn will bring that lovely jet that takes us on the trip to Tokyo, at least virtually, and all of that. So any final thoughts that folks want to share before Wynn brings up his jet to Tokyo?
I want to thank, it was great to meet Ade. Thanks for letting me be on the show today. Hopefully I'll join tomorrow. But if you, Ade, I'll get your contact info from Nick and Mark, and we'd love to have you come to Morrisville as an athlete and inspire maybe some of our youth for like a meeting just to meet some of our students. So Mark, I'll get with you and arrange that, and we'd love to have you here.
Of course. And I mean, final thoughts for me as well. Just want to catch up everyone on the Olympic tally. We have China in the lead with 34 golds, 24 silvers, and 3 bronzes, bringing them to 74 medals in total. A lot of them are coming in from diving. A lot of them are coming in from weightlifting and shooting. And we have United States coming up as second place with 29 golds, 35 silvers, and 27 bronzes, with a total of 91 medals in total, which is a lot of medals, but a lot of those medals coming from swimming, coming from track and field, and coming from shooting as well. And then we have Japan, the host country, coming in third for the medal tally with 22 golds, 10 silvers, and 14 bronzes, with a total of 46 medals. And those medals coming in judo, coming in karate, which are also native sports to Japan. And it's awesome that they're bringing that home for their country, and also in artistic gymnastics and skateboarding. And 4th and 5th place are Australia and the ROC, or the Russian Olympic Committee. So US, we might overtake China when it comes to first place in medal tally, but we will see.
Fantastic.
Do you think we can catch Wynn? I mean, definitely Nick, as we get ready to have Wynn bring that plane. Do you have any final thoughts? And do you think we can catch them in gold? I definitely think we've got a sizable lead in overall, but can we catch them in gold before Sunday rolls around?
Yeah, I don't know. We're just going to have to watch the games and see what happened. And of course, the volleyball matches taking place. There's like in the soccer, much watch TV. I mean, some stuff you just have to see, Mark.
Yep, no doubt about that. So great show, great conversation. We'll definitely be reaching out, and we'll see if Michelle can pop back in, possibly with her husband Al. And definitely, I just recently reached out to a coach with our winter figure skating team. So I've added her to the list of folks that we're in conversations as well with, in addition to Dominique Dawson, whoever else I might be able to find through the wonderful world of the internet. So we're going to see what happens in that regards. I know that Mr. Carl Darden, who is a Navy man and who is involved in definitely some Navy sports, including canoeing and things along those lines, he has expressed some interest in appearing and sharing his wisdom about those sports as well. So hopefully we'll be seeing him in the near future also. So I'll keep that in mind and keep the dialogue going with them, as we still got 3 more days of coverage here of the Olympics. So we've got both tomorrow, Friday, as well as Saturday and Sunday. So definitely the Olympics are winding down, but still some intense competitions to go. And I know I'll be keeping myself glued to either the computer or the television to watch some of these matches as well. So Wynn, if it's all right with you, bring us that airplane and get us on out of here.